How Arrogance Destroyed FDR's Second Term. You listening, Barack Obama? Roosevelt's second term was a fiasco. It began in the most wonderful of ways for him by a huge re-election victory in 1936. He carried 46 out of 48 states and swept in gigantic majorities, more than 2/3 in each House of Congress. What could possibly go wrong in this? Well, at the end of his first term in 35 and 36, the U.S. Supreme Court, which was largely unchanged, the old Hoover, Coolidge, Harding Court, threw out many of the key elements of the New Deal. Minimum wage legislation, the NRA, the National Recovery Act, the AAA, the Agricultural Adjustment Administration, a whole range of programs were thrown out by the court. And Roosevelt was determined to do something about that. And these 9 old men, as they put it, never died. They just stayed there. And Roosevelt got very frustrated and very arrogant. So he conceived a plan to pack the Supreme Court. He said the judges are so old they need help with their workload. So for every judge over the age of 70, he would create an additional judgeship which he would do the country the favor of appointing. He would expand the court in all to 15 members. Well, the public saw through it. And even though he had these compliant majorities in Congress, they rebelled. They wouldn't vote for it. Finally, at some point, he managed to pass it in the Senate, never passed the House. And right in the middle of his push for it, right in the middle of his going to bat for it, the Supreme Court reversed itself, and it approved one of the important New Deal measures that he'd proposed. And the joke at the time was a switch in time saves 9. Because the court knew that it couldn't defy the president and the Congress that openly. And then one after another, the judges retired and were replaced with liberals who sustained the New Deal expansions of the federal government. But the taste in Congress was bitter between the president and his own party, a bitter backlash. And it became a truism that the Southern Democrats would vote with the Republicans to try to offset Roosevelt's efforts. The Southern Democrats wanted to kill civil rights legislation. The Republicans wanted to hold down spending, and they formed an alliance that had a solid control of Congress, in part through their control of committee chairmanships. So in 1938, arrogant as ever, FDR decided he was going to purge the Democratic committee chairmen, the Southern Democrats. So he got friends of his to put primary candidates against those senators when they sought re-election. And he personally campaigned against the incumbent Democratic senators to try to get rid of them and replace them with New Dealers. Well, he lost every one of the races except one. And the result was that he literally had no capacity to work with Congress. In the second term, he got almost nothing passed, almost no New Deal legislation. The New Deal dropped dead. And Roosevelt looked like a good first-term president, but a failed second-term president because of his arrogance, impelled by his re-election victory. We'll talk in the next video about how the war came and that saved him, let him get re-elected to a third term, which was, of course, astonishingly successful in winning and preparing for World War II. But the lesson here historically is that he got off to his second term with the same arrogance and self-possession that now motivates Obama, who doesn't need Congress, doesn't need the courts. All he needs is executive orders to run the government exactly as he wants. And that comes home to roost. That ultimately is not the American system, and presidents who try it are in for a hard time. Just ask Roosevelt. Thanks for watching.